welcome back to my channel. So it's been a full year since this hair loss and regrowth journey has taken place, and I'm going to share what this whole process has been like and share pictures of how I went from hair loss to hair regrowth. You'll see me look at my notes just to make sure that I get everything covered, and I'm sharing this to offer hope and encouragement and a realistic perspective about this journey. There's a long way to go. I'm just getting started. It's been filled with highs and lows, but I'm convinced that there is hope, and so here we go. So in October of 2020, November of 2020, I took my braids out and I realized that my hair started to fall out. So I started feeling a little bit nervous. Even though I had been through this before, I was a little bit more concerned, and I had been going to a hairstylist and she was washing and conditioning it bi-weekly. It was still dry and brittle, and it was coming out. And so I started to do my own research because I'm trying to figure out what was going on. And so I really started to research. I went to YouTube and Google and medical journals, and everything led me to inflammation and triggers of inflammation. And that led me to remember that I had been diagnosed with PCOS several years ago, which is also tied to a hormonal imbalance, and then also insulin resistance. And there were triggers that causes the inflammation. There are several things that could cause inflammation in the body. And so one of the things that I started to do in October, November was I realized, based upon all of the research, was that supplementation could be beneficial. So I started taking pumpkin seed oil, turmeric, black pepper, and spearmint. And I'll link to a video that talks about some of the benefits of those. And then I was also starting to wear more hair pieces. I mean, my hair was already kind of short, but I was used to getting it in braids or wearing it in different styles. At this time, from an emotional standpoint, I was dealing with some depression around it. I was worried. I was concerned. Like I said, the hair was very brittle. It just had a really weird texture about it. And I definitely thank God for my hairstylist, Brittany. She's at BU Hair Studio in Delaware. She has been really supportive and really encouraging through this whole process. And she really encouraged me to get to a dermatologist. And so, again, I started to make my own changes internally based upon what I had been reading about. And so, cut out dairy completely. I added in more leafy greens than I was normally eating. So 3 to 5 green smoothies per week. I was still doing the supplements, and I started to increase my protein. This is, again, October, November. Hair still is looking weird. It's still falling out. I go to my first formal doctor's appointment in December 2020. It was a hot mess. Probably the worst doctor's appointment that I'd ever been to. And so left that feeling, again, a lot discouraged, quite frankly. But then I immediately, once I talked to my hairstylist, we were like, let's find another physician. So I went to another appointment, or I set up another appointment. But again, I'm still doing anti-inflammatories, supplementations. I'm learning more about stress in terms of how it impacts hair. So I'm going to probably do a video about that in the future. But stress, and then my second appointment actually with a dermatologist, this is a new dermatologist at this point, was in January 2021. And that's when I got the official diagnosis of early scarring alopecia and CCCA. So that doctor prescribed a topical steroid, and we talked through everything. We talked through all of the options. We talked through what the next year could look like. She was very realistic and essentially saying it may or may not grow back, right? And so I appreciate her honesty, but she also was willing to work with me because I decided I wanted to really focus on nutrition. If we know that it's caused by inflammation, and inflammation is triggered by either sometimes external things or internal things, I wanted to work on the internal side. So I also got a biopsy, a slew of blood work done to really figure out what was going on and what was taking place. And so at this point, the hair loss actually started to get worse. It started to creep forward to the front of my hair. And I remember seeing a YouTuber when I was doing my research, and she was saying how even though she had a diagnosis and she was doing her own type of treatment, it got worse before it got better. So I wasn't surprised that it was happening, which was probably a really good thing, because it could be even more discouraging when you're like, I'm trying to do what I need to do and it's still getting worse. So I wasn't surprised, but it certainly started to come out more so in the middle part, the front and in the middle. By February, you'll see in these pictures more hair loss, and you see I set the pictures up so you can see some of the shiny spots. That's where it was starting to go bald. And what they as in physicians and people on the internet, when it starts to go bald, it won't grow back. So all of those shiny spots are like reflections, and so you can see where it was starting to go bald, but it was still very spotty. And then it also started to spread to other places. So there was some in the back. And this is at this point, I was starting to get a little bit of growth back. And I also decided I just wanted to shut it all down, and not shut it all down, but cut it all off. And so in March of 2021 is when I decided I wanted to get it as short as possible. And because quite frankly, I was starting to look like George Jefferson. So if I'm dating myself, but from the Jeffersons, but yeah, it was short here. It was thicker here. It just didn't look right. And it was even more discouraging every time I looked at it. Right. So I was like, well, let me just take it all off. And interestingly enough, it felt better and it looked better when I cut it all off. It actually even didn't look as sparse as it felt when it was uneven. So anyway, so by April 2021, we're starting to see some real progress. The hair texture is getting better. It's because all of that dead hair was taken off. I had a follow-up with the dermatologist, and she essentially said, keep doing whatever you're doing. Don't make any changes, essentially, because it is growing back. And I'm still doing the supplementation. I'm still doing the anti-inflammatory foods. I'm doing moderate exercise. I might do a video about that again. I think I said this already, but when I exercise, just everything feels better on my head when I exercise. So those are the things that I was doing. May through October, really doing a lot of the same things. I thought I was having a relapse in August, though, this year, August 2021, because I ran out of my pumpkin seed oil and I stopped taking it. I don't know if there's a direct correlation between not taking it, but what pumpkin seed oil does in terms of blocking androgens and DHT, I think it might have been something that I think there was some connection there. So I re-upped my pumpkin seed oil, and then I have gotten it cut and shaped about 3 times since then, just because I wanted to try to get some type of shape. I need to probably shape it up again, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Anyway, so that's kind of where we are. It has been a full year. You'll see here from where we started to where I am today. I'm still on this journey. And if I were to be really specific about the things that I learned, the lessons learned from an emotional standpoint, praying and being patient, easier said than done. Also embracing the journey, like exploring and being excited about exploring and understanding your body and new things, like all of this. When I started researching like all of the different spices and the foods and the way that they work and how God created them to heal us and to nourish us, and it's just that part is that's fun. That's an exciting thing. So really just embrace it from an opportunity of being curious, right, and learning. And then focusing on one thing that someone I heard they were talking about. Do you want to deal with the pain of discipline or the pain of regret? And that stuck with me. And I didn't want to deal with the pain of regret that I chose not to be more disciplined about what I'm eating and what I'm doing and how I'm fueling myself, versus being and regretting that there's something that maybe I could have done to help heal it, be a part of the healing process. The other thing is I would say cry when you need to, find joy and make joy where you can. From a very practical standpoint, the things that I learned was it was important for me to find the things that triggered me. Everybody's going to have a different trigger. Yours might be stress, or it might be some other food that you're eating that you shouldn't be eating. So you need to find your triggers, get the blood work to figure out what's going on in your body completely internally. And if you're inclined to do so, I highly recommend. I'm not a physician, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a doctor, but I will say the biopsy is going to be able to hopefully tell you what's going on underneath. Also, figure out what your nutrition deficits are. And it doesn't have to be perfect. I was not super strict at all, but I was intentional. And so I still have a lot, I'm still on this journey. I still got a lot to learn. There's things that I could even obviously be doing much better. So I'm just taking it one day at a time. Manage stress, get a team of support around you. And of course, if you want to reach out, if you have questions, if you want to connect via email, I'm here. I try to respond pretty quickly. If you want to put a message in the comment section there. And look, we're in this together. You will get through this, and I will see you in the next video.